Hello and welcome back to the commentary box. It is a week since we've last seen you, so we have made it and we're trying to be consistent. This week we will be talking about the Nations League. Of course, I am Sam Turner, and of course we are joined by Jake.
Of course, we are every week. Nations League, a lot to look forward to, and looking at it. Work our opinions on that, of course, and then obviously we're going to go more individually, looking at certain teams and looking at their success, picking out the likes of Holland, who people may have not thought would do so well, Germany, who didn't do as well as people expected.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll be looking at the Nations League, just to add to what Jake says, from an entertainment point of view, and then we'll be looking at how big teams have found it and how small teams has found it. And also we'll try and end on a little bit of a debate / discussion on how big will it be for England if they manage to win the Nations League next summer against teams such as Portugal, Netherlands and Switzerland. Without further ado, we'll get straight into it. Jake, have you found the Nations League entertaining?
Yes. So you go on to more entertaining. I think it's been entertaining in multiple ways. We've seen some big upsets. We've seen the likes of Germany not doing so well. We've seen the likes of England doing very, very well. We've seen slightly smaller teams get good results. Sort of giant killing FA Cup sort of style. We can see teams like Albania when they beat Wales. Although I think that was a friendly, actually. I'm not going to get my facts right here.
Yes, that was a friendly.
I'm thinking, but the it's been very interesting in terms of the system, because it's a very new system. We've never seen anything like this before. Almost like a 3-team. It's quite weird. Everyone plays everyone, so you get 4 games to play. So it's very interesting. I didn't think the concept would work at first. It just seemed a bit too bizarre, a bit out there. But it seemed to have quite a lot of as well, that seeing teams play against other quality teams or teams matched around them is just a lot more beneficial to watch in terms of actually enjoying the game, but in terms of the team playing themselves. No one wants to see England beat Malta 2-0 away. No one's really bothered by that. People would expect that to happen anyway. But when England come against Spain, and then Croatia have got a game against England, obviously replicating the semi-final of the World Cup, it just makes it crazy, and everyone goes, well, what the big game? Suddenly, all of a sudden, it's a big game, especially near the end games, the second round of fixtures in the Nation League, where it mattered a lot. You either win the group or you lose the group, and it almost does feel a little bit like that World Cup, Euro, group stage spirit. You see the players coming together. We saw the likes of the England team going crazy when they scored in the late minutes of the game against Croatia, and you could see the passion from the England players and the fans and Southgate, and it just seemed to mean so much. And for once, we got rid of these awful, dull things where people aren't so bothered. And it just seems to be a lot more fun. So I think from looking at FIFA's point of view, or UEFA, I think you can give them a bit of praise there in terms of actually coming up with a successful system. Would you agree in the same? Would you say that it's been beneficial for the biggest teams as well as the smaller teams?
Yeah, I would like to say that basically from the start I was really, really excited to see this come in, because not only does it provide a more competitive kind of friendly for all teams, but it actually kind of for smaller teams create something that they can achieve and something they can win. So teams like Gibraltar is a great example from this Nations League. They have no hope really of winning a game in the normal qualifications for the Euros or the World Cup. They might scrape a draw at home against, say, Macedonia, who are only a slightly bigger team, but they have no hope of winning anything from that or qualifying. But within the new Nations League, they're going to be playing teams like Liechtenstein, San Marino, and Macedonia throughout their time, and these are games that they can have chances of winning, and it means that they can achieve something as well. Because if they do win these matches, it's not like they have to play another big side. They can play other smaller sides and actually win a trophy, which would be like the Group 4 trophy, and qualify for a Euros without having to be walloped by Spain or Portugal 6-0 every time they go play them. And it just creates a bit more kind of oomph for these smaller teams. It might, like, younger players might see this thinking, actually, though we're a nation of 30,000, I could win something with this team and still play against the best players. And it's just like creates that kind of maybe positive cycle in smaller teams they can achieve to win something. And also about your point about how it's a competitive kind of almost like a group match feel of a World Cup, I would agree with you slightly, but I would actually compare it more to a league, because what I've felt over the last few games of the Nations League, as it's called, a league as well, it's felt like club football again, because it's not like a World Cup where everyone's like together all the time. It's like they're coming together for like almost league matches, if that makes any sense. So it's kind of got that feel that national team football is having a league now, and it's taking more prominence, and it's kind of equaling out with club football, if that makes any sense.
No, I do agree with you. I think that was the point I was trying to make, was that in the latter games, so in the last couple of games, you almost felt like that sort of that you will get in the group stage. But I agree with you in saying that's probably a better example way of being a club, because obviously in the first couple of games of the Nations League, no one's really bothered. Like when we lost to Spain and then played Croatia and drew, there was literally Croatia game at all. Like no one really watched it. No one, game we lost, you're like, oh well, like it's not awful. And then obviously we drew against Croatia, and it was like, oh, and like it didn't really mean anything. But then as soon as it came to the second time round, we beat Spain away. Everyone was like, wow. Like, look at this. And then everyone getting that excitement and that buzz, you know, like you have in a league where you lose a couple of games, you draw, fans aren't interested, you win a game or two, everyone's right back behind you, wanting you to plough on. Like, looking at England, like an amazing sort of turnaround. I'm just looking at all the tables now, and we've seen like a lot of success from teams that we may have not expected so much. So we can look at Group A2, and you've got Switzerland obviously top of the table. Yes, it was goal difference, but they've topped the table there again, and you probably would have thought would have come bottom in that anyway. But you can look at Holland as well, topping their group. Portugal probably would have been expected, but they were there. England, I don't think many people thought England would top their group. I don't think they would have. I don't think people would have rated up to do as well as we can. I also think, in terms of looking at big teams and small teams, I think it's great because teams as well. So I'm just looking down here, the likes of someone like Andorra, and you were saying about Gibraltar earlier. Andorra do not Holland or Croatia in a friendly. Like, they want to be playing teams who are of their level, so they actually stand a chance. Like, they played their games in their group, points in the end. Even though there's 4 teams in there, so they got 4 points from that. So they drew 4 games. So they drew against all the teams in there, and like that was a bit more realistic for them. Like Georgia, that's a realistic opponent to play, and you want to play teams who are of your level or around you, because that's how you sort of improve. There's no point playing Man City week in, week out if you're Cardiff, because there's nothing really going to happen around you. Those are those sort of 6 pointers as you would get in league football. So I think successful tournament. I think we've seen seriously taking it properly. We've seen players taking it seriously. We've seen that sort of togetherness at the end of to win. We've seen a lot of late winnings. We've seen a lot of upsets, a couple of surprises. So I think overall, we can just say it's been successful. I'm trying to think of any negative sides of this. Can you, Sam?
Off the top of my head, not really. I mean, maybe one of the only things I can think of is that you're playing a side twice in quite close succession. If that makes any sense, that you're not getting a real diverse range of games in terms of different opponents. I mean, of course, it's really exciting, but like maybe I would have liked to seen a 4 group teams. I mean, I know it's like that in the lower parts of the Nations League, and it probably numbers wise it doesn't quite work out like that. But I prefer groups to have 4 teams generally, if that makes any sense.
Could be more of an achievement as well if you do win the league.
Yeah.
You could. You're playing to, like you said, a more diverse. Like obviously, England played Spain twice, and then Spain played Croatia twice in a very short space of time. It's probably quite an unrealistic thing to happen.
Yeah, because then you know all about the team, and it's. I mean, I'm really picking at kind of straws here, but that was maybe just
we're just trying to find like the tiny negative.
Yeah, exactly. But overall, it's been brilliant. I mean, for British sides, it's not been so great apart from England. Actually, no, sorry, it has been pretty good for British sides. Of course, England are through to the finals in the summer in Portugal. Wales didn't get relegated in the end. They managed to kind of solidify their Group B status. And then Scotland got promoted from Group C after a thrashing of Albania. So that's good for Scotland because they'll be now in Group B from C, so to say. And then Northern Ireland got relegated out of Group B. But it's been interesting to see how these teams perform because it also is a way of sorting out the teams again in terms of coefficient and rankings in the FIFA, because if you keep on playing bad sides, you never have that chance to even get points. So it's an interesting way of like seeing how teams progress over time and seeing how teams develop. Like Scotland, they're a good side, but they just get unlucky kind of qualification groups, and because it's so unrealistic, they don't do well. But if they're in a group of teams where they can win games, it can just change their fortune one qualification kind of year, and they get a nice friendly group that they can qualify from. It's kind of giving teams more chances to show what they're made of, basically.
Yeah, because I'm not 100% on the rules, but if that we got a semi-final, final, but there's something about if you win something, you get not instant qualification, but some sort of qualifying.
Oh yes,
game.
I know what you mean. So basically, in each group, there's 4 finalists. So in the top group, it's obviously England, Portugal, the Netherlands, and Switzerland. Now these from each group, they will all go to their separate finals. So I guess it's drawn randomly. There'll be a semi-finals, and then the top 2 teams in the final obviously play each other, and the winner of the final of each of the 4 divisions gets automatic qualification to the Euros. So that means that, say, if Belarus, who I think topped one of the groups in Group 4, if they go on to win the whole final of that division, they'll be in the Euros in 2020.
Good, which not only in creating an incentive for the Nations League and making it more interesting and not boring friendly, but now there's actually something weighing on it. The players are trying hard, and everyone takes it so much seriously, which it should be. I've never liked the really little petty international friendlies. Oh, so-and-so beat so-and-so 2-0. It just doesn't really mean much, but now we've got a bit of meaning, a bit against. Like, I'm looking at Belarus here. They didn't even concede a goal in that Nations League.
Can you imagine Belarus playing in the Euros? That, for me, I just love situations like that.
Because it's crazy. It's going to bring that sort of underdog sort of feel. And obviously, they're taking it very seriously. Like, got a good record, 4 wins. You know, that's a realistic sort of competitive. Maybe San Marino, not so much. Like, San Marino didn't even score a goal in the 6 games they scored. They let in 16. But that wasn't for them, shall we say. But it's great to see team playing it seriously and doing well. And like we talked about Gibraltar as well, they got 2 wins scored 5 goals. It's great to see these really small countries to start to do well, start to play better, and obviously you get teams that will play in their group this time. But let's say next they come first and then they win their semi-final because it's a slightly easier draw and they get a lucky win. They do it by credit, but I don't think they've ever been in the European Championships, and I can't imagine them to be in the Euros. It would just be crazy, but it gives them a chance and it gives them that incentive to strive and go forward. We can start to see these really small teams getting a real good chance and a shot, playing well, going to a major tournament and just having a great time and maybe even get broken. So I think it's just mainly positive. Obviously, we picked out a couple of negatives, but we were really narrowing down against small things there. So I think I'm just happy days all along. I'm just great to see it. I quite like international football. Obviously, Sporting Gillingham, I've never seen. When it comes to watching England, I really love it. I really love to get involved in it. And no, it's just been great. I think happy days all round. I think we've solved quite a big problem in football, because I think we've had this for a while, Sam, where it's sometimes just a bit dull, especially obviously style of football been poor. We've had players and potential, but never got the result. But it's just nice to start to see a bit of success, excitement, especially after a good World Cup. And I think I'm just looking forward to the finals. Summer, I think they played in June. I think they're in good. I think so. Will they just
Sorry, what was that? Sorry, the thing cut out, sadly.
Okay. I was just saying about, we obviously got the finals in Portugal in June or in the summertime. Yeah. So leading up to that summertime, we're just going to have regular international breaks and regular international friendlies.
I'm not sure, actually. I mean, that might be another thing, maybe a tiny criticism, that the finals are in summertime when a lot of players want to be resting, and it just kind of adds another summer of having to do stuff for footballers, if that makes any sense. But yeah, I assume there might be a one friendly leading up to it potentially. I guess I'm not sure really, because if you're a manager, you want to play at least one friendly before the finals. But as you mentioned, the finals. There's just the kind of the last question we kind of have for this podcast is what kind of achievement is it to win the Nations League? I mean, do you see it as good as winning the Euros? Or is it really far behind the Euros and it's just kind of a nice competition to win? I just want to get your perspective of how much of achievement it is to win it.
Well, I think Kane, and he was saying about how do you feel after winning this? And obviously he was very excited and happy to win, but he was just if they do go on to win it in the summer, how big this tournament could become. Huge. A yearly tournament, everyone loves. A yearly tournament that's entertaining, it's fairly quick. We get to see games against big teams played at the national stadiums. So it's looking very positive. I think it's definitely got the potential to be a big tournament. I don't think it's ever going to be, especially sort of being located in one country, which obviously I know the next one isn't going to be. But that sort of having, we're going all the way to France, for example, for a Euro. So it'd be interesting. I think it's going to be big. With things, but let's say if England, let me ask you this, Sam: would England winning City? No, let's say Arsenal winning the FA Cup.
That's a good question. I'd say that Arsenal winning the FA Cup is a bit bigger than. Well, in terms of club football, I think Arsenal winning the FA Cup would be bigger than England winning the Nations League in terms of achievement. But I think the Nations League, in terms of trophies, there's not many trophies on offer in international football. As far as it goes, it's kind of like the Carling Cup, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
It's trophy, it's a silverware, and lots of international teams never have the chance to win it. So if you're going to win a trophy in international football, it's always going to be really hard work to get it. And if England win the Nations League, I'll be celebrating. I think everyone else will be celebrating, and I think it's going to be brilliant news. And I do think if we do win it, this side and Gareth Southgate will definitely, or they might already be down in history, but they'll cement their place in history as being a side that kind of finally found success after '66.
Yeah, I think at the moment the Nations League probably, obviously you've got to wait till summer, the League Cup, the Carabao Cup at the moment, but I think it's got the potential to be as big as winning the FA Cup. That makes sense. Could it be a comparison?
Yeah, I understand what you mean.
But right now, it's a trophy, like you said, it's silverware. People do want to win it, but it's not huge like the FA Cup is. Everyone loves that, everyone gets involved, but it's still definitely up there, and it's got potential to become bigger. So I think it's a nice little comparison there.
Comparing
example of cups.
Yeah. I'm just trying to work out what time the draw is for, or what day the draw is for the finals of the Nations League.
I got a feeling it could be early December. I'm not too sure, but unless that might be the European, the Euro qualifiers, it might be drawn then.
Let's have a look. It's not going to tell me, is it?
But yeah, no, I think it's definitely going to be interesting. So we've also got the potential of playing Portugal, Holland, or Switzerland. Which fans will be hoping that we get Switzerland in the semis, obviously the easier.
Oh, I want Portugal, I think. I think either Switzerland or Portugal, yeah.
I think. Well, personally, I'd be like 100%. I want Switzerland.
I'm not sure. So they got Shaqiri now, haven't they? And then their striker, Savicevic, I think, he scored a hat trick, left foot, right foot header. That's like the perfect hat trick.
Yeah,
I think they're a side that people underestimate, but they beat Belgium 5-2, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's very true.
I mean, I understand what you mean. Like they're
5-2.
Yeah, they're the underdog kind of team in that sense. I think they could be dangerous for us. I mean, we played them before. I remember in the qualifications for, I think, the last Euros, and we did very well against them. But I think just got to be a bit wary. Portugal, I think, always going to be a tough side, but I think they're on the decline, really. I mean, they did well in the groups, obviously, in the Nations League, but I just think maybe the weakest ones. Netherlands, I think they're just probably as hotly tipped as we are to win it.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you think we're the favourites? Do you think we're equal with Holland?
I think the way that Holland have been playing, I think they find themselves favourites, because under Koeman, they're like unbeaten in 18 international matches, I think, or something ridiculous like that. And just the way they're playing at the moment, they've got real team spirit. They've got people performing. They've got Memphis Depay performing. They've got Virgil van Dijk performing. It's kind of like the Holland we remember of the past, with like the Van Persie, De Jong, Dirk Kuyt. It's just we're seeing this resurgence of them because in the last few years they haven't even been qualifying for tournaments, and I think they just go in as favourites, seeing that they maybe just had a slightly tougher group, of course, with the World Cup winners and the World Cup winners before that in Germany and France. So I don't think they just edge it, and I think people think of England at the moment as a really good young squad that will have potential, that probably will get to the final, but might just be beaten by the Netherlands.
Yeah, no, I think that would be a fair statement. In terms of just, I know it's a little diversion, but just a small answer, just on England, we've talked a lot about England and especially the potential they've got. If that potential turns into anything, are we talking the Euros in 2020 or are we talking the World Cup 2022?
That is a good question. I think personally we can be ready for 2020 for the Euros, because we've had our first tournament as a squad. So I don't see why we can't go on to win the next one. But then again, if you look at Germany, before they won the World Cup in 2014, they finished, I think, fourth in the 2008 World Cup, or like third or fourth in the 2008 World Cup. They finished sixth World Cup, sorry, and then 2010 they finished third, and then it took them till then, obviously 2014, to win it. So it might be another two tournaments. It could be Qatar 2022 this before we get like to a final, but it's so unpredictable. You can't predict like which tournament. But all I'm going to say is either one of those tournaments is going to be very exciting for England fans, including myself.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how we perform and sort of especially against the big teams. Looking good, looking positive.
It is. So I hope you have liked our little Nations League review of how it's gone so far. Send us in your opinions on Twitter, which is at Box Commentary, or you can comment on stuff on Instagram, which is also at Box Commentary, or you can drop us an email, which is the commentarybox.contacts@gmail.com. We would love to hear your opinions and any suggestions and improvements we can make to the podcast, because after all, we just want to keep improving and keep on growing. Yes, thank you for listening. We've certainly enjoyed recording this podcast. Yet again, it's again on international football. But of course, we've got the Premier League coming up this weekend, and the EFL, of course, is still going on. So next week, we'll be talking about club football again, and we might even be talking about Swansea and Gillingham. So yes, that's a goodbye from me.
Bye from me as well.
And we'll see you next week. See ya.
Bye.